Welcome back to Send Better Emails. I almost forgot the name of the podcast then because it's been so long since we've done an episode. But we have a special episode today. We've got a guest, Mr. Adam Pearce. He's requested that we use his full name when addressing him. Adam, when we did the pre-briefing yesterday, there was talk of nipples, but none on show today, which is a bit disappointing.
Yeah, I mean, I love the fact that you say don't mention nipples, and the first thing you mention are my lovely, rounded, hairy nipples. I don't know how many people we've lost already in this podcast, but hey, there we go.
But my thinking was that first kind of 30 seconds to a minute, I'm trying to get the retention. I'm trying to get listeners staying on, and that was the trick I had up my sleeve at this point. But Adam, do you want to just quickly tell us who you are and why you're so important in the world of e-commerce?
How long have you got? Look, so guys, I'm Adam Pearce, as Jamie so eloquently put. I do two things. One is that I run a CRO agency called Blend. We've been doing this now for about 10, 11 years. In 2025, we won a lot of very swanky awards, which I like to brag about. And another thing that I do is, some of you probably know me from Ecom Collab Club, which is a monthly get together for ecom brands, agencies and tech. Very sweary, very relaxed, but ultimately very valuable. Lots of chats with brands, with agencies and tech. And you can also find me on LinkedIn posting random things about standing desks.
Standing desks, okay.
Yes, yeah.
Why?
Well, I bought a standing desk over Christmas, and what I find is that I lock in, as the tech bros say, for a couple of hours, and then I try and move. And as a nearly 40-year-old man, my body isn't what it used to be, and my leg will just give way as I try and move.
Okay.
So posted that yesterday. Engagement was pretty good. So follow me for more tips.
Okay, nice. All right.
Jamie, you've got a standing desk, haven't you?
I do, but I never stand with it.
I've never seen you use it.
No, I just like the fact that it's got an adjustable height. I don't use it for like the full standing height, but I can move it up and down because I have a bad back, Adam, so I can't actually stand for that long on the spot anyway. So I absolutely love networking at Ecom Collab Club. By the end, I can't walk because my back's wrecked, but I'm glad.
A fairly decent plug then, and you screwed it, but thanks anyway.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
Yes.
Is it not based in a cinema?
It is.
Yeah.
It's 8:00 in the morning in a cinema in Leicester Square, which for most people is like, this isn't a very natural networking environment. But yeah, I've been doing it about 4 years now, and it's working well. So there are seats available. You can stand. I'm trying to dig us out of this hole that Jamie's dug us into here, Jamie.
Yeah, sorry. There's escalators as well, so you don't have to walk too far. There's coffee, good pastries. Yeah, it's a good event. So if you're in the e-com space, make sure you get down there. It is unlike anything else that you've been to when it comes to events in the e-com space. So yeah, and the venue is swanky. Oh. There you are. I've dug
trying
out
to claw it back now. Trying to claw it back. Oh, best event ever.
Cool. All right, let's do quick fire questions. We do this for all of our guests, Adam. We're gonna take turns on you here, so to speak, Adam. I'll go first. So one book, fiction or non-fiction, that you would recommend to everyone.
The Pumpkin Patch by Mike Michalowicz. Business book, but effectively it's about saying, look, when you've got lots of business ideas, kill the ones that are shit, but focus on the ones that are good. Don't know if I can swear, but hey, I've done it. There we go.
No, swearing's fine. We are sometimes guilty of that, aren't we, James? Maybe we should read that book.
Yeah, definitely. That description alone, I feel like that description is maybe we don't need to read the book now because we've just heard what needs to be done. Like, the action is fuck off all of your side projects and focus on the main thing. Yeah, so do we need to read the book, Adam?
I would say so. I actually know the author Mike fairly well, and he's a good guy, but he also has got a book called Profit First, which again is another brilliant book. So just very practical stuff. It's not sort of like just sort of Stephen Bartlett pontificating about how great he is. It's actually like real actionable advice. So yeah, definitely go and have a read.
The Pumpkin Patch.
Okay. Nice. Okay. I didn't write this, by the way. I'm the parrot for this. One linked influencer that you would recommend, Adam?
I'm obsessed with Jake Carls, who is one of the co-founders of a brand called Midday Squares. They're basically kind of like a more healthy, conscious snack bar from Canada. They create brilliant content of like all behind the scenes stuff with them. And he will like go to a grocery store that's stocking his product, and he'll do like random dances with like the old guy who stocks the shelves. But he's funny. He's a nice guy. He genuinely cares, and he posts good content. Yeah. So Jake Carls.
Jake Carls,
He
nice.
he describes himself as co-founder and rainmaker at Midday Squares. Are you sure you want to stick with that answer?
Yeah, I mean, like, okay, the Rainmaker title, okay, but you know, he's North American. We have to kind of allow them to sort of, you know, spout some shit, because that's what they like to do. So yeah, but no, I'm sticking with Jake. I love him.
Nice.
Okay, nice. North American tax.
Yeah, exactly, like Bundesliga tax. Okay. Adam, one newsletter. We have to ask this because we're an email marketing podcast. So, one newsletter that you subscribe to that's actually worth subscribing to.
You might laugh at this. I actually really like the Arnold Schwarzenegger newsletter.
Okay.
It gives loads of like practical tips about eating better, training, looking after yourself. So that's the one that I'm like digging at the moment.
Nice. Okay.
I think that's a great answer.
Yeah, I love that.
No judgment there.
Yeah, you could have answered something boring like, I don't know, the Econ Collab Club newsletter or something like that. I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, I'm going to start promotion, but I mean, there's a limit. So
yeah.
Nice. Okay, one person alive or dead, and it can't be Arnold Schwarzenegger because you already said him, to have dinner with.
I don't. You could put some like sad music in the background, but I would say my granddad, who passed away about 20 years ago, because he was like my absolute idol, and I would love to. I'd basically love to go for a night in the piss with him now, knowing what I know about him, and just basically have a chat about life and hang around. So yeah, I'd love to go for a meal with him.
Nice.
Oh, God damn it.
That's so wholesome.
That's a good answer.
I mean, you know, death is not really the kind of thing you want to be talking about on a podcast about e-commerce, but
no, and you've also scuppered any chance to bring some comedy to that answer at all.
That's
yeah, hard to take the piss out of that one.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Okay, one thing to ban from existence, Adam.
Oh my God, the word wild. Oh my freaking God. Where did this come from? Why is everything wild? You know what's wild? The fact that I clicked onto a website and they had a red button instead of a blue button. No, it's not wild. Okay? Wild animals, wild deodorant, wild outdoor jungle. Okay? Apart from that, stop using wild.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm really like auditing myself now because I'm pretty sure that I'm guilty of using that word sometimes.
That's wild.
The thing is, guys, like you're a little bit younger than me, and I kind of think it's kind of more acceptable. It's when I see, you know, Karen, who's 53, you know, is a financial controller from Swindon, saying things are wild. It makes my skin crawl. So yeah, I've made this known publicly and privately, but I just get in the bin.
Nice. Okay. I like that. It's kind of, it's wild. It's not as good as Nathan. We had Nathan on here, Adam, and he chose baked beans and was probably as angry as you.
I saw that clip of him. I'm like, you're just an odd man.
I wonder which one is harder to actually banish from existence, baked beans or the use of the word wild. I don't know, that'd be an interesting thought experiment that we don't have time for.
Yeah. I mean, I'm imagining Nathan in like an orange boiler suit going around to Sainsbury's and just like getting all the baked beans off the shelf, putting them in a truck, sending them off. He'll probably create an app or a networking event around it. Anyway, yeah, sorry.
You're giving away all your good ideas now. We should definitely get him to do like a charity thing where he gets into a bath with a load of baked beans.
I think you want to see that, don't you, Jamie? You're trying to find an excuse to get Nathan naked. Like, here's a good idea, guys.
my bath's available, everyone.
Okay. We're nearly at the end of these quick fire questions now, Adam. Biggest fuck up / situation you've had to pick yourself up from?
I mean, a brilliant one a few years ago. We had a apprentice come and work for us for a while, who now has gone on to do great things. But in the early days, we were doing kind of Facebook ads at Blend, and one weekend, she didn't put any kind of limits on the Facebook ad spend. And this is like years ago. So their monthly spend was £4,000, and we spent £5,000 in one weekend. So yeah, that
God damn
was
it.
an interesting conversation, an expensive conversation. So yeah,
What were the results?
Terrible, because it just
no.
literally plastered the same audience again and again with the ad. So there was a lot of ad repetition, and obviously the sales off it just were nowhere near the spend. So yeah, that was good.
Yeah, ads scare me. That's why we're in email. There's very little you can get wrong with it with email if you just let it run over a weekend or something. Well, yeah, but in terms of like
say that.
Okay, one favorite memory or one thing you're most proud of, Adam?
I'm most proud of producing my children, I think, is what I would say.
Okay.
And the wonderful young women that they're becoming. I'm every day I'm proud of them. So yeah, I just every day look and I think, look, you're just ace, and I don't know how you turned out so well considering I'm your father. So yeah, definitely.
Nice. Okay, love it. Another wholesome answer.
Yeah, very
nice. Okay, awesome. So let's talk some e-commerce, Adam. That's why we're here. We want to get some of your wisdom for our listeners. We want to try and deliver some value here. So that's the kind of main portion of this. We're going to try and stick to about 10, 15 minutes here. But when we were speaking yesterday, Adam, you were talking about something that you feel quite strongly about when it comes to mistakes that you think brands make, and this idea of picking up and dropping channels depending on whatever they feel like putting investment in terms of resources at any one point. So talk to us a little bit about that and kind of explain what you meant by that.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not going to go directly into. I'm actually going to give a little story here. So let's imagine, that each one of us get a new dog, and we decide that actually what we're going to do for the first week, we're going to feed it. We're going to feed it every day, but we're not going to give it any water, and we're not going to take it for a walk. The next week, we're going to give it water a week, but not feed it, not take it for a walk. And the week after, we're just going to walk it and not feed it and not give it any water. How healthy do you think that each of our dogs is going to be after week 3?
Yeah, you probably don't get to week 3.
Probably. Yeah. The RSPCA are going to be knocking on your door. And ultimately, this is, I think, the problem that a lot of brands have, is that they don't feed water and walk their dog. And what I mean by that is that with an e-commerce business, you need to have different channels all of the time working together. So you would feed your dog, you would give it water, you would take it for walks, you would fuss it. The same way that with a business, you need to make sure you've got email marketing, you need to make sure you've got SEO, you need to make sure you've got ads, and you need to make sure you've got someone doing CRO or optimizing the performance of the site. And there's this kind of mentality in e-commerce sometimes that you can do SEO for 6 months. You can do email for 6 months and then drop it. It doesn't work like that. Yes, I agree. You can reduce the input and the output of each of those things over time, but you always need to, I guess, kind of have something going on each of them, because there is so much cross-pollination with each of them. And again, it's keeping that business going. So I think it always gives me red flags when I get onto a call when someone says, look, we've been doing SEO for 6 months now, and now it's time to kill SEO off and just do CRO. That is a really bad move. And I genuinely would say, like, if you're thinking that way, you need to really take a good look at yourself and say, look, is this going to mean that we're going to grow our business for the long term?
Nice. I love that analogy, and we're all about analogies here.
Yeah,
the inbox time. So I love that. I'm sorry, James. I just want to jump in because I've got a question.
No, please.
Cut across you, but Adam, if we think about brands of different sizes, and you say, kind of try and activate all of these things at once, make sure you're feeding, watering, and walking your dog. If we think about smaller brands, maybe not startups, but brands that are smaller, are we still advocating, let's make sure that we are doing all of those things to some level, to some degree, even if we don't feel like we have tons of resources available in-house?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, look, with each of those things, um, you can put things in place that will allow you to do those in different levels. So, for example, if we take email, guys, look with you guys, you would expect every single brand to at least have a welcome flow and abandon cart flow, I'd imagine. Like as the basic stuff, that's got to be there to help that happen. Equally, from an SEO perspective, when we're thinking about building a new page, are we using H1, H2s, H3s that are relevant for the words that the keywords that we're searching for? So with all of these things, there is so much available now that you can do individually or even through apps and AI. You need those things to be in place, because what happens is, and I think this is what's happened particularly over COVID, a lot of people started online businesses, and then now at the stage where they're maybe doing 9, 10 million pounds a year. The problem is those businesses now, when they come to us, they have a lot more issues than they would have had if they'd have done things smaller, and the money they're spending is a lot bigger. So I think doing the free stuff and the easy stuff and eking that out as you go and you go as you go is important to do. Don't just think, oh, look, we just need to get sales to the door, because ultimately you're not going to get to that point if you don't have the foundations of the business set up in the way you need it to be.
Yeah, awesome. Love it.
Nice. Adam, there may be some e-commerce store owners listening to this. Who knows? Maybe who ask the question. With email, for example, there is this necessity to continually send emails, right? So it's maybe more intuitive that email is something that you can't stop. With CRO, however, then there may be some who think, well, surely once my website has been optimized, that's the end of that conversation. That's the moment in which I can drop it. There's a finite amount that my website can be optimized, and then after that, I probably don't need to touch it for the next 3 years. What are your thoughts on that? What would you say to someone who has that question?
Yeah, look, it's I think definitely a valid thought. I think the issue is though is that when you're sending traffic to a site, and like with any business, the people that are coming to your business or interacting with you will always change over time. And equally, those customers that are buying from you are also going to mature. So, let's for example, take good old Jake Paul and Prime. We all saw that happening. Prime for a while was like the thing to have. After about 6 months, it was in the bargain bin at Morrison's. So in terms of that demographic of customer and what you need to do for them, what you need to fulfill is different. And that is the same thing that happens with a site. Equally as well, you often see this with beauty brands, whereas in the early stage of a beauty brand, what you tend to get is that you kind of get these early adopters coming to site. They will be, buying all of, the smaller value, more consumable type products. As you get kind of 6 or 12 months in, the customers coming to site generally are more informed. The AOV then starts to increase. And because of that, what you need to serve up on the site is actually very different. So if you are going to say, look, your traffic is going to be the same all the time, then by all means, look, you can just keep it as it is. And once it's done, it's done. But, most people, listen, will go, look, actually, I know for sure where we're pulling traffic from at different times of the year, different times of the day, different types of people is always going to change. And I think that's why you always need to making sure you've got tools like Microsoft Clarity, which is free of charge, to allow you to start analyzing what people are doing where they're clicking, where they're not clicking, where they're leaving the site, where they're not leaving the site at all the time.
Love that. I'm really excited about this next bit because Adam's going to give us a peek behind the velvet curtain. Not at his nipples, I hasten to add. You mentioned again yesterday in our call, Adam, that you were happy to just share some of the most interesting A/B tests that you've been running over I think over the last year. I don't know if you put a time frame on it, but it would be so good just to hear like these these marginal differences that make that that have an impact on e-commerce stores?
I mean, look, I think what I would say is, when I'm going to do all people working in CRO, a bit of a solid here, is to say, expect with CRO that it's not actually that interesting, in the sense of, you said they're most interesting, James. What I would say here, the ones I'm going to talk to you about today are the ones that make the biggest impact. And from a mentality point of view, sometimes this is an issue when brands start to work with CRO agencies, because they think they're going to come in, like a design agency, and give them a brand new sexy product page. Most of the time, we ain't. Okay, we're actually going to simplify it, because what our job is to do is to make sure when that person clicks on the site, they go and buy the damn thing. That's what you're paying us for. But over 2025, we had 2 or 3 A/B tests and things that just worked and worked and worked again. Now, the first one that we did and will continue to do is what we call exposed search on mobile. Now, what this basically means is that when you go and if you have a look at your own website, you might look at it on mobile and say, well, look, if I'm searching for something, there's a little magnifying glass in the top right-hand corner. To access that, what you find is that is quite difficult to do. And secondly, it doesn't actually show that feature to the visitor in the best possible way. Now, we had a lot of clients who were saying, look, when it came to their mobile site, they were seeing that people weren't interacting with the search. When you expose it, i.e. you make a box on the mobile site to allow you to type directly into it, 2 or 3 beautiful things are happening. Number one is, typically speaking, when a customer uses on-site mobile search, their conversion rate will increase by 25 to 45%. First and foremost, that is something we've seen again and again. The other thing is that actually for people like you guys, this is also very helpful, as it is for SEO, as it is for PPC, because we had, for example, one client whereby it was a crisp company or a potato chip company. What we were seeing is that people were searching for the name of a product plus ingredients. Now, this did a few things. Number one is it showed us that our product pages weren't good enough and we need to include more specific ingredients information about that. Secondly, from an SEO point of view, the SEO team then were using that to allow them to rank. Thirdly, email campaigns then were going out that reference specific ingredients. And then equally, from a PPC point of view, those ingredient searches were then used within the ads. So what it does is it not only converts better, it gives the rest of the business more data to work with to be able to then effectively keep running other tests on other parts of the business. So what I would say with that, with search on mobile, don't even test it, just do it. It works again. So number one,
Nice.
I would definitely say that one.
Love that.
Cool. I mean, this is gold. So let's just dive into number 2, Adam. Let's go from there.
So the other one that always, and there's always a bit of trepidation when I share this one, because people are like, really? That increases conversion by 30 to 50%? Okay. We had a car parts manufacturer. And what we did is we went out to their highest LTV customers and basically said to them in a long survey, what is the stuff that we do as a business, i.e. the car parts business, that makes you keep on buying? And what they came back with are 2 things. One was the fact that it is super simple to return if there's a problem. And secondly, is the fact that we get a 1-year guarantee with all our products. We're going to look at the site. That is referenced on the homepage and the homepage only. So what did we do? Very simply, below the buy now button on the product page, we put those 2 items as trust indicators. Off the back of that, 30% increase in conversion rate. And again, it happens again and again and again and again. And people listen to that, it won't work. We have done it so many times. I have so much data showing this work. And I think this is the problem sometimes with CROs. We go, look, this stuff is just so simple. And some of it actually really is to do technically, but you just got to make sure that you've got these things happening and you've got to go and ask those questions to those customers. So the doing it bit in CRO can be quite easy. It's the finding out bit that takes a bit more time to work out what you need to do. So again, simple, just get it done.
Nice.
I absolutely love that. I think what I like about that so much as well is that it's not like you're saying to a business, you need to create this 1 year guarantee. You're actually using what they've already got and just surfacing it so that it's more obvious to the consumer. It's so obvious, and yet something that, like, I can already think of websites that I've been to recently where, like, I've had to dig for that information where it should have just been given to me.
Exactly. I mean, look, how many times, guys, if you started working the client, you look at our About Us page, and there's all these brilliant things about stuff that they do with charity, and this brilliant founder story about how, they're trekking, across the desert and they had this epiphany moment, blah, blah, blah. And it's all homemade in the UK, and da, 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 da. You go to the product page, it's like, buy this thing for £50. You're like, whoa, hang a minute. Well, where's the rest of the stuff and the rest of the site? And I think overall, this is what I would say to people is, with your product page, that's your prime real estate. Get all the brilliant stuff that you have. And yes, it doesn't all need to be text. It can be iconography. It can be images. It can be video, whatever it might be. But get that on the product page, and don't expect me or anyone else to go to your homepage or About Us page, because frankly, they're not going to bother. They're coming in from an ad. They assess you based on your product page. They like it. They don't like it. They buy. They don't buy. It's that simple.
Love it. I love that.
Prime.
Yeah, prime real estate piece is great. I love that. Sorry, go on. Number 3.
Yeah, I mean, look, the third one as well is, we as human beings are still pretty much Neanderthals. And what I mean by that is that when we look at something, looking at pretty pictures always is much better than looking at text, because it's easier to understand. One of the other things that we did a lot of last year is that when you are particularly on mobile looking at a product, people find it much easier to assess a product based on images and visuals. Now, typically, a lot of Shopify stores, what you will have is you'll have one main product image of that product, and underneath there'll be these little breadcrumbs or dots or whatever you want to call them, where you have to basically flick across the screen to find their images of the product. What we do a lot of now is that we turn those breadcrumbs or those dots into images, so that straight away the customer can visually shop and assess what you're doing. Now, one of the trends from 2025 was annotated images that a lot of people did. So you would have a product image, the benefits would all be annotated off the back of it. A lot of people as well used UGC video within that, the product imagery there as well. That is also listed below. We always see two things happen. One is, off the back of that, AOV tends to rise by about 15 to 20%. The other thing as well is you get a lot more dwell time on that PEP, and they're using those images way more than did previously. In some cases, it can increase by 100% in terms of the amount in terms of flicking or scrolling through that product imagery set. So 3 super simple things, 3 of the best performing implementations A/B tests we've done. Just get it done.
Unreal. Love that. Adam, if I'm working with Blend and you point these things out to me, am I then expected to go off and just try and do it, or are you also executing this stuff as well?
Yeah, we do execute, but we have clients who work with us who basically pick and choose, because some clients have internal people, some people already have a developer they use, some people don't. So some clients we work with, we do the analysis, we create a roadmap using PECT, which is our kind of internal scoring mechanism, proof, ease, cost, time, impact. That gives us a rank of all the things that need to be done. Some clients we share the implementation with. So if they have an internal developer, they do some, we do others. Other clients who've got it all internal will say, look, thank you very much for the analysis and the strategy. We'll take it from here. So it depends on what kind of business you are and what you need. But as I say, we have lots of different types of relationships with our clients.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's nice. Adam, when it comes to this is a question I had that's just come to me. So you're not prepped for this, but a lot of the things you were saying there, I was picturing Amazon, right, and the product pages in Amazon, right, and if we think about the beast that Amazon is, sometimes the usual rules don't apply to Amazon. But could people do a lot worse than taking Amazon product pages and using those as a good example of, because they don't look sexy, right? They have a lot of the elements you were talking about there. So what are your thoughts on that?
Amazon is a fantastic website from a CRO point of view. And the reason I know that is because every single person listening to this product, if they looked at the Amazon account over the past 12 months ago, shit, did I really spend that much money? And the reason that you do that, A, is because of the UX, because it is so easy to use. It is unbelievable. Anyone from my, 5-year-old to my grand can use it. And secondly, look, a big part of it, I can't deny, is of course the delivery situation and how quick you can get things. But the thing for me that I love is that when I get on a call, the things that I love and hate when I get on a call with a new potential client, things that I hate is when that we come and say, look, we are brand focused, design led. Design is very important to us, blah, blah. You ain't ready for CRO, because that is not what a CRO agency is going to do. I love it when people come and say, look, what we realize is that, look, we've tried to make the site more beautiful, or, we've really focused on our kind of UI and make it look really great, blah, blah, blah. But the conversion rate is still being really sticky around that 2% mark. And we just can't get to 2.5. Or, we've tried all these different apps, that, are meant to give us better experience, but AOV is still at $50. So that's what I like, is that you need that realization that ugly sells. I mean, look at me. You want to see my wife? She's amazing. But look, ultimately, ugly does sell. And what I mean by that is that it's not, yes, it still needs to look, aesthetically pleasing, but it doesn't need to be, a few years back, everyone comes and says, oh, guys, Blend, can you design us a store that looks like Gymshark? You don't need a freaking store that looks like Gymshark. There is a lot more to Gymshark than just, the monochrome, cool looking black site. And anyone knows anything, about Ben and Noel and the guys there, they will know that the site is just a tiny, tiny proportion of why it's been successful. So focus on what your customer needs. And the only way you're going to do that is by being able to analyze the data through things like Clarity, Hotjar, GA4, and you know what? Talking to them. If you're a small business, pick up the damn phone, send them an email, put an NPS score on your site. You're going to find out so much stuff. Got to do it.
I love that. Adam, we've worked together before as well, and I know that you are very happy to offer, top level audits for people that are interested in this kind of thing for their website, and having that conversation and helping them out. So I would encourage anyone listening, if anything here is kind of just, you've thought, wow, okay, this is super interesting, I'd like to see some insights specifically for my website, talk to Adam. He's a friendly guy. He'll always help you out. And the work that he does is great. Adam, I've got one more question for you before we kind of wrap up. We're on Send Better Emails, email marketing podcast. We talk about a lot of things around e-commerce, but, we should tip our hat to email every now and then. Talk to me about email marketing and CRO, and how specifically those two things work together quite well.
I mean, it's sun moon time. I mean, look, ultimately, when it comes to email marketing, CRO needs to work to allow email marketing signups to happen. And equally, when email marketing is sending back to the site, that site then needs to do the right service for that email marketing. And, one of my all-time favorite Shopify apps is Octane AI. I absolutely love it. For people want to know, look, I'm also a strategic advisor to them. Not that I really get paid for it, but it's like whatever. But ultimately, the situation there is that in that scenario, if you have a quiz on your site, that site needs to get that customer through the quiz. That quiz data then goes into Klaviyo. That Klaviyo data then sends clients back to the site. They're just literally, it's like a game of tennis. And I think if you genuinely want to think about how you're going to get your average order value up, keep your conversion strong, and keep customers coming back, which effectively are the three main levers, buy now, buy more, buy again, that we talk about at Blend, you just have to make sure your email marketing is firing, because if not, it ain't going to work.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Nice. There's nothing more frustrating for us, Jamie, as email marketers, when the emails are performing well, but customers aren't converting, clickers aren't converting. It's super annoying. It reflects badly on email, and often the finger is pointed towards why aren't these emails making us more revenue? It's like, well, we're sending people through to the site. So there's, the problem exists after the email. I think we've seen that all too often. And so, yeah, it's, a site that's well optimized is an email marketer's best friend.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think we've got a responsibility to make sure that, as agencies, we are all making sure that we can get the best out of our own channels by making sure our own channels are best themselves. So it's, like with the clients, that we guys obviously share as well, is that we need to make sure, that, the guys that we have, there's good stuff on either side. So yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Adam, this has been one of my favorite podcast episodes, which is a credit to you, not a discredit to our guests by any stretch. There's been a lot of gold in here. And, I'm kind of hoping that the people have listened and stuck with this because, you've offered a lot of really good insights. So thank you for your time, mate. And just as a reminder, this is Adam. He's from Blend, CRO agency. If you're on Shopify and you're thinking my website could be converting better, Adam's the guy you need to speak to. So yeah, thanks for listening. And Adam, thank you very much.
Absolute pleasure, guys. Thanks so much for having me on.
Cheers.
I'd say if I could use one word to describe this, just to finish, I would use the word wild. So thanks, Adam.
I know my camera is going a bit funny, but I'm making a very rude gesture with my hand right now, James, directly towards your boss.
Nice. Let's leave the listeners and watchers guessing which hand gesture that is specifically, because I know which one I would use to James, but there's a few.
There's a multitude, yeah.
There is a multitude. Right. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Cheers.